Good morning. So, how do you make decisions when you're faced with a big decision? When you're faced with, some of those that are really tough. What do you do? How do you make those decisions? Do you ask other people for advice? Do you just kind of think about it for a long period of time? Do you do the sheet down the middle of the paper and say pros and say cons and then look at it that way? Do you have a system? Or is it one of those things you just kind of roll around in your head for a while, and then after a little while you decide this is what you're going to do? You know, um, Studies show that successful people have a tendency to make decisions quickly and change their mind slowly. You read that in Think and Grow Rich. And unsuccessful people have a tendency to make decisions slowly and then change their mind quickly. So, how do successful people make decisions? Well, a lot of times, the issue is simply that a decision needs to be made, that you need to do something so that you can move forward. Remember the story I told you about the general when they were deciding which type of airplane they were going to go for in the Navy? It was between, Boeing and Lockheed Martin, and the issue was, were they going to go with the bigger plane, which we did end up going with, the F-14s at the time. I think it was an F-12, but the F-14 Tomcat, much bigger plane, not quite as maneuverable, could travel further, could travel almost as fast, and could carry a lot more weapons? Or were they going to go with a plane like Russia did, the MiG, which is a smaller, more maneuverable plane, faster, but it can't travel as far and doesn't carry as many weapons? And there was a giant study that was done, and they were presenting to a general saying, these are what we found out with regards to this. And, there's so many pros and cons that you could go on forever. And so they went on for about 15, 20 minutes, and finally the general stood up and he said, that one. We're going with that one. Let's go, and forward we go. And after that happened, Colin Powell was one of the guys that was the assistant at the time, and he stopped the general and he said, I got to ask you, how did you make that decision? There was so many different variables back and forth. And the general goes, there's no way for us to know whether or not we made the right decision. What I did is I made a decision. And as we move forward, we're going to find out if this was the right decision or if this was the wrong decision. But I'm not going to end up staying in analysis paralysis, meaning not sitting there forever debating this decision back and forth and never making a decision and never moving forward. So when you get something that's that close, what can really be the deal is simply that you have to decide. You have to decide, you have to move forward, and then figure out from there whether or not you made the right call or not, and then you can go on to the next thing. And if you made the wrong call, then you can change your mind. But again, how do you do that? How do you make those choices? Well, decision making is a muscle, just like anything else. The more that you do it, the better that you're going to get at it. And so the more that you're actively being the person who's in charge, the more that you're actively deciding issues in your life. If you haven't made any big decisions in your life in a long time, then one of the great ways to do it is to just start out small, just like anything else. Make small decisions and work your way up. But it's a muscle. Decision making is a muscle. Deciding that you're going to change something in your life is a muscle. Deciding that you're going to commit to something else, that's a muscle. Deciding that you're going to change careers, start out with the little things and then work to the big things. The point is, not deciding is a decision, and it's almost always the wrong decision. That's analysis paralysis, or paralysis by analysis. And when you sit there and you don't decide and you go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, then you're never going to get anywhere. That's the person that's stuck. When the squirrel gets caught in the middle of the road and the car is coming, it really doesn't matter if it goes one direction or the other. Both directions, it's going to be safe. But when they get hit is when they can't figure out which direction to go, and that's when the car comes and hits them. So you have to make decisions in order to move forward in your life. Whether or not it's the right one, well, time will tell, but at least you'll have moved forward and you'll have learned and you'll know more as you go on. So there's a great system for doing this, and T and I are going to take a couple of days, so I'm not going to be posting at 4:30 in the morning for a couple of days. I'm going to be in a different time zone. The rest of this month, I'm going to have some times where I'm going to be gone. Don't worry, the neighbor girl comes over and stays with Marley. So I will do a video on this great system for making decisions and post parts of it periodically over the next couple of days. So I won't be live, but I'll still give you a lot of information. But this is a wonderful system for making very difficult decisions. But the real issue is, are you able to make decisions, or do you get paralyzed and you don't make the decision? Remember, deciding not to decide is a decision, and it's absolutely the wrong decision. So set yourself up. Make some decisions this week. Decide some things that you haven't done. What are 2 choices that you haven't made that you've needed to make? 2 things that you've needed to decide on that you haven't done just because you've been paralyzed. You haven't been able to figure out which way to go. Pick a little thing and a big thing and make the decision on the little thing, and that'll help you move forward on the big thing. And then over the next couple of days, I'll give you a decision-making process that's amazing, and it's only for big decisions. You don't do this every day as to whether or not you get, the hibiscus refresher or a lemonade, but when it comes to really big stuff, this is a great way to go. But the point of today is to always remember, you got to figure out how to learn how to make decisions. People that are successful make decisions and move forward. And if it ends up being the wrong one, they learn. That doesn't mean you don't take in any information. That doesn't mean you don't analyze at all. But you take in the information, you analyze, and you make your choice. You don't sit there forever. What happens with the analysis by paralysis is people think, if I get one more piece of information, it's going to flip it one way or another. What the general taught you is that's not going to happen. What the general understood was, with all of this data, this decision was so close, there was no way to know which way was the right way to go. So he went with his gut and he said, all right, we're going to go this way, and then we're going to figure out. The only way to know if it was right was to go do it. And then if it turned out to be wrong, all right, then we'll go back and we'll do something different. But otherwise, there was actually no way to know. But again, don't be the squirrel caught in the middle of the road. Learn how to make decisions. Start out by doing little ones. It's a muscle. Use the muscle a little bit and do little ones, and then you can work your way into the big ones. Have a great day, everybody. I won't see you live for a couple of days. You know what it is. Game 6, Bucks and 6. Go Bucks. Thanks for watching. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.